Hey there folks, welcome back to another marvelous video. The Marvel Universe is filled with iconic heroes and villains, but today we're diving into the underrated Omega-level mutants you might not know enough about. These mutants might not always steal the spotlight, yet their powers, backstories, and sheer potential are nothing short of extraordinary. Each of these characters changes the stakes of the Marvel Universe in ways you might not expect, so sit tight as we explore 7 mutants whose impact deserves far more recognition. We're ready to get into it, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. With that out of the way, let's dive into 7 underrated Omega-level mutants. Elixir, Joshua Foley. Joshua Foley, better known as Elixir, first appeared in New Mutants number 5 in 2003. His introduction was unusual for an eventual X-Man because he began as a member of the Reavers, a teenage group that openly hated mutants. When Josh's own mutant powers surfaced, his friends turned on him. This rejection set up one of the most important themes in his story, which was learning where he belongs in a world divided by fear and prejudice. He was soon distinguished by his power to manipulate living tissue biologically. At first, all he could do was heal cuts and minor injuries, but it was important to note that his potential could be seen even then. Under the mentorship of Emma Frost and Danielle Moonstar, Josh became more controlled as he understood that he was in a position to heal diseases, undo poisons, and even bring those on the brink of dying back to life. His experience with the New Mutants team plunged him into hard circumstances. Josh also needed to make life or death decisions during battle, and they traumatized him. Josh was distraught by the death of a close teammate and love interest, Laurie Collins, which activated the darker effects of his mutation. He found that he could hurt as well as heal. This power manifested in his black form, which was a physical change that symbolized his ability to kill with a touch, shutting down organs or spreading cellular decay. The development of Josh persisted in House of M as well as Messiah Complex. Elixir was even more necessary to the X-Men as many of the mutants lost their powers during M-Day. He rescued teammates from deadly injuries, prevented the legacy virus, and survived battles in which he was the only hope of success. The unlimited scope of his mutation is what makes Josh Omega-level. He can rewrite biology at the genetic level. Writers have shown him reversing terminal illnesses, altering immune systems, and bringing people back from clinical death. At the same time, the destructive side of his powers means he could be one of the most dangerous mutants alive if pushed too far. Elixir's storylines highlight a young man constantly caught between compassion, fear for his own potential. Though he often takes a supporting role in team books, his journey from an anti-mutant bully to one of the most powerful healers in the Marvel Universe makes him one of the X-Men's most underrated Omega-level mutants. Proteus, Kevin McTaggart. Kevin McTaggart, who's better known as Proteus, made his first appearance in Uncanny X-Men number 125 in 1979. He's the son of Moira McTaggart, historically one of the X-Men's most trusted allies, although that's changed in recent years. Kevin's childhood was tragic. Since he was too uncontrollable with his powers, he was isolated in a research facility. From the beginning, his story carried themes of fear and containment, since even his own mother struggled to manage what he could do. Proteus possessed the ability to warp reality at will. On paper, that sounds limitless, but his body can't handle the strain. He survives by consuming life energy, burning through host bodies at a rapid pace. This addiction to changing hosts also renders him not only a threat to his enemies, but also to any who happen to get in his way. When he first escaped confinement, the X-Men were forced into one of their most harrowing battles. Proteus manipulated the surrounding world, distorting scenery, bending the rules of physics, and confusing experienced fighters like Cyclops and Wolverine. It was only when the group joined together that they were able to beat him, and it was Colossus who struck the killing blow. Nevertheless, that original plotline made Proteus one of the X-Men's most terrifying enemies. In Exiles, he reappeared, leaping between dimensions, causing chaos in reality. In later works, including House of X and Powers of X by Jonathan Hickman, Proteus joined a group known as the Five. With Goldballs, Tempest, Elixir, and Hope Summers in particular, he became core to the mutant resurrection process. He uses his reality-warping powers to make viable husks to resurrect dead mutants. The transformation of his character from an uncontrollable villain to a necessary piece of mutant survival shows just how versatile his story can be. The manner in which Proteus manipulates the battleground by altering the very rules of the world where his opponents exist is what makes Proteus Omega level. Walls bend, the laws of physics break down, and the strongest of mutants barely know how to adjust. At the same time, his fragile physical form means his victories are never guaranteed, giving his stories a constant tension between limitless power and deep vulnerability. Exodus. Bennett du Paris, who's better known as Exodus, is one of Marvel's oldest mutants by origin, even though readers first met him in X-Factor number 92, 1993. His story begins in 12th century France, where he served as a knight during the Crusades. Bennett was driven by a belief that he was destined for something greater. The evil mutant Apocalypse noticed the potential inside Bennett and put him through a test of worthiness. Upon refusing to reject his values, Apocalypse decided that Bennett was irrelevant and sentenced him to stasis. That choice left Exodus imprisoned in history for many centuries, but it also kept him preserved until the modern age when Magneto set him free. Upon becoming fully awakened, Exodus vowed to Magneto to promote his cause of mutant supremacy. He established himself as a leader in his own right as he led a group of mutants known as the Acolytes, which executed the will of Magneto. Throughout the 1990s, Exodus clashed repeatedly with the X-Men, showcasing powers that included vast telekinetic strength, telepathy, and even healing. These powers enabled him to fight whole teams by himself, and his passionate character ensured that he was one of the most faithful followers of Magneto. The strength of his faith was what made Exodus a unique villain of that time. He looked at the dream of Magneto like a holy quest. His speech was full of religious metaphors, which made Magneto sound like a messianic figure and him like a follower. This fanaticism made him dangerous because he fought with both conviction and overwhelming power. In recent years, Exodus was a central figure on Krakoa. Instead of just being a soldier, he was on the Quiet Council, the ruling council of the mutant country. His passion transformed into the art of narration, and he could be heard frequently educating Krakoan children about their history as mutants to transform people like Magneto and other leaders into legends. This new role highlights how his faith continues to shape mutant culture through ideology. Exodus's classification as an Omega-level mutant comes from his limitless psionic potential. His telekinesis allows him to manipulate matter on a massive scale, while his telepathy gives him control over minds. Combined with his centuries of experience, these abilities make him one of the most powerful and most uncompromising mutants in Marvel's history. Iceman. Bobby Drake. Bobby Drake, better known as Iceman, is one of the original 5 X-Men, making his first appearance in X-Men number 1 back in 1963. Created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, Bobby began his journey as the youngest member of the team. His powers were simple at the time. He was able to make snow and make his skin thick with ice. This earned him the title of Team Class Clown. When the X-Men had enemies such as Magneto, the Sentinels, and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, power of Bobby increased. Those harmless snowballs got bigger, and his ice armor turned massive over time. Eventually, he started making ice slides that allowed him to move across landscapes quickly and effortlessly. His lighthearted nature was able to conceal his insecurities over time, mainly the fact that he didn't feel like he was as powerful as others on the team, including Cyclops and Jean Grey. His potential began to unfold in the late 80s and early 90s. During Inferno and X-Factor, writers explored the deeper extent of his powers. Emma Frost, while inhabiting his body briefly, demonstrated control over his abilities that Bobby himself hadn't realized was possible. She turned him into a being of pure organic ice, proving that he could transform his entire physiology. This revelation changed how both fans and the characters in the comics viewed him. With storylines such as The Age of Apocalypse, House of M, and later Battle of the Atom, the powers of Iceman increased even more. He discovered that he could control temperature on a worldwide scale, develop ice clones of himself, and repair deadly injuries by reconstructing his body. His powers made him effectively immortal so long as a trace of moisture remained for him to rebuild. These developments cemented his classification as an Omega-level mutant. His character development had focused on accepting himself, and over the years, he understated his powers and had problems with self-identity and later with his sexuality. This growth has been recently featured in the stories where he's learned to accept himself as he is with confidence and also fulfilled the real potential of his powers. Iceman has shown one of the most dramatic changes in the history of the X-Men, going from comic relief to one of the most powerful mutants on Earth. He embodies the idea that potential isn't always obvious at the start, and that even the funny guy on the team can turn out to be an Omega-level powerhouse. Kid Omega. Quentin Quire, also known as Kid Omega, made his debut in New X-Men number 134 in 2003. Created in the time of Grant Morrison, Quentin soon proved himself to be among the most brilliant of Xavier's students, but also potentially the one with the most volatile temper, and that's including Wolverine. His intelligence and telepathic power made him better than his peers, but he was perceived as a problem child to both teachers and classmates because of his arrogance, as he always challenged the authority of the teachers. His full-scale development came in the form of the Riot at Xavier's storyline. Quentin underwent an identity crisis upon realizing that he was adopted. He had been betrayed and felt out of place, so he put together a group of students who were as frustrated as he and started the Omega Gang. They combined forces and rose in a violent revolt against the school. Quentin's belief that Charles Xavier's dream of peaceful coexistence was weak pushed him towards radical action. The riot was chaotic, leading to injuries and fractures among the students. It concluded with the body of Quentin failing to hold up after he overdosed on the drug Kick, which would temporarily multiply mutant capabilities. His mind remained alive in the form of psionic energy, but all this showed that his potential was immense. In later years, Quentin resurfaced repeatedly, often straddling the line between antagonist and reluctant ally. He was prominent in Wolverine and the X-Men, where his attitude clashed with nearly everyone around him. Although he had a streak of rebellion, he was an ever-useful man when it came to crisis situations, slowly demonstrating that all the arrogance was the front of a greater need to belong. His development in stories like Schism and Avengers vs. X-Men emphasized how his character was slowly transitioning from a problem child person who could stand with the X-Men. Quentin's powers make him one of the strongest telepaths ever in Marvel history. He's able to read and influence thoughts, make psychic weapons, generate protective shields, and even take possession of a number of minds. His psychic potential has been likened to the legends Jean Grey and Professor X, but his headstrong nature tends to keep him from realizing his potential. That potential, however, was finally recognized during Jonathan Hickman's House of X era. Quentin was officially classified as an Omega-level mutant. His telepathy has no upper limit, meaning that with discipline, he could rival or surpass any psychic in the Marvel Universe. Ora Serrata the Witness. Ora Serrata, nicknamed the Witness, made her first full appearance in Legion of X number 1 in 2022, though references to her date back to earlier X-related files. She hails from Morocco and holds the seat of law on the Great Ring, which is a position she claimed after defeating Ukesh the Bridge in combat during a war-racked era known as the Ever Siege. She sentenced Ukesh to dismemberment, then seized control of Arako's legal system and established the God Law, requiring deities to prove their value or face erasure. Ora's form is striking and unique, a small headless humanoid body perched atop a massive floating eyeball, all enveloped in the mass of an entity called Xyla. As Arbitrix of the Inward Watch, she adjudicates disputes and delivers verdicts in the Circle Perilous, acting as the final voice of justice for the Araki people. When Arako relocated to Mars, Ora continued enforcing divine accountability. She challenged and condemned gods who sought worship but failed to meet the standards of her god law. Then, unexpectedly, she conspired with Mother Righteous, leading to the arrival of Tumult, an unpredictable trickster chimera on Arako's twin nation, Krakoa. Pretending to hunt Tumult herself, Ora manipulated Krakoa's Nightcrawler and weaponless Zen into a trap. The turning point was a crisis after Zen learned of the betrayal, and Nightcrawler confronted her with devastating consequences. Ultimately, Legion, a reformed Tumult, Nightcrawler, and Zen combined forces to subdue Ora. Storm intervened, striking a compromise. Tumult was erased, God Law was revoked, and Zen was freed, but Ora remained bound to Mother Righteous in return. Her powers place her among Omega-level mutants. Ora can erase targets simply by looking at them as an absolute removal from existence, and that extends to gods unless they fall beyond her jurisdiction, such as Uranos, who resisted her vision. Sabunar of the Depths. Sabunar of the Depths is a member of the Great Ring. His mutation is genetic and inherited by generations of water mutations. The third of his name, Sabunar's lineage is marked by a deep connection to water and marine ecosystems. Sabunar also played a key role in the terraforming of Mars when his blood was used to deepen the oceans on the planet. This act and the work of Hope Summers and Monarch made Mars a habitable planet where mutants could live. Sabunar is not limited to the basics of water manipulation. he's also able to create huge aquatic worlds, which in turn creates seas and lakes within his body. The fact that he has a hold on these habitats enables him to feed and control the life of the sea, thus posing a huge challenge to both war and ecology. At a crucial vote over whether to go back to Amenth and fight the Daemons, or stay on Mars living peacefully, Sabunar voted in favor of peace. His stance reflects a desire for stability and coexistence even amidst the warlike culture of his people. Sabunar's role extends beyond terraforming and politics. He is an Araki mutant whose body contains entire oceans and aquatic systems, making him one of the most unique mutants in existence. Sabunar, together with Caliban, has also made an effort to provide a retreat to some of the mutants who have physical mutations where they can freely stay without fear of societal marginalization. Though peaceful, Sabunar will make an excellent enemy once pushed to his limits with his powers. His power to move enormous amounts of water and to put systems of aquatic life under his control ensures him extensive destructive capabilities. Marvelous verdict! And that's a wrap on 7 underrated Omega-level mutants. They might not be the heroes of every story, but nonetheless, through their powers and memories, these characters are necessary forces in the Marvel Universe. Which one caught you by surprise the most? I gotta admit, I love those weird Araco mutants. They've always got the coolest powers. Drop your thoughts in the comments and check out our other videos for more deep dives into Marvel's hidden gems. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Otherwise, as always, stay curious and stay marvelous.